All right, so we're kind of continuing the factoring with a number in the front. So today, you're going to see some problems that will start out like this. Where you have a negative sign in the front. And we typically don't want to do that. So it's really just take out a negative. And so it's really just like divide. So if I did, negative divided by negative is positive 5, negative and negative is a positive 23x, and it'll be a positive 12. So when we take out a negative sign, it's really just changing the signs. Okay, so what are the signs going to be? Positive, positive, makes both of them positive. I have my x's. And so then I do what times what is 5? So 5 times 1. What times what is 12? 12 times 1, 6 times 2, 4 times 3. So it is, again, just guessing and checking. And I am going to be like adding stuff together because they're positive. So if I did, 5 times 12, that's 60. So that's probably not going to be the one I'm going to use. This isn't 100%, just making educated guesses. 5 times 6 would be 30. I only need 23. So that's like too big. So I'm going to start with the 5, or excuse me, the 4 and the 3. So if I did 5 times 3 is 15, 1 and 4 is 4, 15 and 4 is not 23. So that's not it. Let me try the other way around. Instead of 5 with 3, what if I did 5 with 4, 1 with 3? Okay, there's my 23. So again, that means that 5 and 1 I can just put in because the signs are the same. If they were different, I couldn't do that. But since they're the same, I can stick them in there. And then the 5 goes with the 4. So when if we were going to multiply it, the 5 goes like way over here. So that means the 4 has to go there, and then the 3 would go there. So I would get negative 5x plus 3 and x plus 4. Okay, so your first 6 problems, they all have a negative sign in the front. Take out the negative sign, and you're just going to switch the signs. Okay, you might have some that'll be, both positive, some that'll be both negative, some that will be one of each, like we talked about on the last lesson. So, then you'll have some that will say solve. Okay, so let's look at those. It's not all that different. Now, you may have like some like this where we've got stuff on both sides of the equal sign. So if you remember, I talked about before, we need to have it be equal 0. Okay, so that we factor and then solve the two like parentheses. Okay, so on some of them it is equal 0. There's 4 of them to solve. I lied. There are 8 of them to solve. But there's 4 graphs. You're just going to ignore the graph and solve the equation at the bottom. So you don't even need to look at the graph. We'll come back to the graph in chapter 8. Okay, but there are 4 of them that are just equations. 2 of them are equal 0, and 2 of them you will need to add or subtract like I just did to make them equal 0. Okay. All right. So on this one, since the last number is negative, that means I'm going to have one positive and one negative. Okay, and then I'm going to have my x's in there. All right, so then what times what is 8? 8 times 1, 4 times 2. What times what is 9? So 9 times 1. Now remember, I need negative 9. So this is where, like, I need to put, 9 times 1, but one of them where it's negative 9 and positive 1, and one where it's positive 9 and negative 1. And then I can do 3 times 3. Just make one of them negative. Okay, so with one of them being negative, it means I'm probably going to subtract to equal 6. So my first instinct is that, well, if I did like 8 times 9, that's 72. That's way too big. And if I did 8 times 3, that's 24. And that's probably too big. I need 6 as the answer. So probably not going to be the 8 times 1. And if I went to the 4 times 9 is 36. Positive 36 or negative 36, depending on which one you went to, and that seems too big also. Excuse me. So, now, if I did 4 times 3 is negative 12, and 2 times 3 is 6, well, that gives me 6, but it gives me negative 6. I need positive 6. So that means I need to switch the two numbers. Like instead of the 4 going with the negative 3, the 4 will go with the positive 3. So if you ever are kind of doing your guessing and checking and you get the right number, but it should be positive and you got negative, or it should be negative and you got positive, it just means switch them and you'll be good. Okay, so that gives me a positive 6. So because it's 3 and 3, that makes it easy like to plug in because they're the same. One's positive, one's negative. But now you got to really make sure you can't just put the 4 and the 2 wherever. The 4 goes with the positive 3. So the positive 3 is right here. So remember, this is kind of like our outside and our inside when I do my two like arrows. So the negative 3 goes with the 2, so the negative 3 is over here on the right. So that means the 2, I have to kind of use the same like arrow. And then that means the 4 goes there. So I think sometimes in years past, I have had students who have figured out like how to do this stuff, or they figure out like, oh, it's the 4 and the 2 and the negative 3 and the 3, and then they struggle putting it in the right spot. So just remember, you're always looking at like these outside and inside, and those are the arrows that you have to kind of follow. So the 5 and the 4, and this first one over here on the left are on the outside, and then the 3 and the 1 are on the inside. And so those arrows that I put in black on the bottom, they follow those like same ones. Okay, then to solve you just do each one separate. We've done that before, so this should hopefully be an easier part for you. So x equals negative 3 over 2, and this one x equals 3/4. Okay, so again, like these problems just take practice. There's no way to get better at them unless you're just practicing and playing with the numbers and seeing like how they fit together. So it is just kind of like you got to try more problems, got to try more problems, got to try more problems. So you'll have 6 problems that where there'll be the negative in the front, like the first example. Then a couple of them where you got to figure out what they did wrong, and then 4 of them to solve when they're just an equation, and then 4 of them to solve where there's a graph and an equation underneath. Just use the equation underneath the graph to solve. Okay? We're going to kind of connect the solving with the graph when we go to the next chapter. All right? So it's just a little bit more practice of what we did on Friday, and then we'll have more opportunities later this week to kind of practice some more. Okay? All right. Have a great day, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.